10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our second segment for the week that sees us going into round 6. We've just, Banksy and I have just gotten back from our team planning meeting in regards to this section. We do things on the fly here. I also just want to say that I have figured out what, or discovered what Banksy's sicky licky licky is. And look, I've got to say, if he ever hits you up and offers you the three chicken nugget Happy Meal, it's not worth it, kids. You're going to want at least 6. I'm not looking forward to confession this Sunday and the Hail Marys I'm going to have to say. And look, there's at least a good half dozen showers of me in the corner crying between now and then. But look, enough about my trauma and the therapy bills that are coming to me later in life. Let's get into some DT action. We're going to do a little bit of a shift up here, and we're going to have a look at a couple of players that have been mentioned a fair bit and a lot of people are considering and thinking about tossing up and humming and hawing on. I'm going to throw them at Banksy. Banksy's going to pull up some stats and give us a bit of an opinion on him. I'm going to either agree or disagree with him. And look, I'll be honest with you, quite likely I'm going to disagree with him a lot because, well, he just and I'm really not that good right now. Banksy, welcome back to our second segment, mate.
After that introduction, I don't want to be back.
Well, yeah, mate, I'm not all that keen on being here with you. I'm grateful we're able to do this from 2 geographically diverse locations over the internet. Thank you, modern technology, because, yeah, the therapy bills, mate, I'm sending them your way.
Don't. You're lucky you got 3 chicken McNuggets, okay?
Mate, stats would have given me 3.416832743.
No, that's changed now. It's 4.137.
See, it's going up.
There's been a change in the price number they use in Dreamteam, so it's just as actions calculations.
Yeah, but all it proves to me, mate, is Sats has his finger on the pulse and he's a generous bloke. You, on the other hand, are a miser.
Yeah, whatever. I'm a cheapskate.
That's exactly my point. All right, mate, let's have a look at some players here. One of the guys who has been flying under the radar a little bit for everybody around the joint, except for us and mentors, there's been plenty of discussion. And look, he is one of the blokes that everybody's favourite person, we love to hate him, Butters, has mentioned. Robbie Rochow, you know, he's owned by 0.56% of teams. And in his last 2 rounds, he has pumped, or last 3 rounds, I should say, he's pumped out 80 minutes apiece for scores of 40, 40, and 53. In those scores of 40, there has been at least 10 negatives in them, which probably explains the 53 that he pumped out against the Dragons, made 42 tackles there too. Holy jeebus, that was massive. Mate, what are your thoughts on Robbie Rochow, or Rochow, however you pronounce his name? He's got a break-even of 8 this week, priced at $269,000. He's already gained 19,700. He's tipped to gain 19,700. Is it too late to jump on him, or is he one we should be jumping?
Personally, it's not too late to jump on him. Looking at my number of owned by percentage of teams, it just depends who you're jumping on for. If you still have Brewer in your team, yes, jump on him. Whatever you do, just get on him. If you already got Stockwell or whoever else you got other cheaper, get on him. If you haven't, he's going to be a 40-point scorer for as long as Bo Scott's out for, which I'm not too sure how long it is.
Heard it mentioned 12 weeks, mate.
He's got plenty of time there, so he's still going to be good. And his buys, as we talked about before, he's one of my tier 4 teams, which are good early buys. He plays up to round 14.
Fantastic.
So then you can look at trading like after then.
He's pretty good for your buy rounds as well. Now, interestingly, Butters, when talking about Robbie Rochow, he stated that Bennett has a habit of playing, 2 of his second rowers for 80 minutes a match. Does this mean that Robbie's going to be one of these 80-minute second rowers for Bennett?
If the last 3 weeks are anything to go by, which it probably is with Bennett, he is.
Okay.
He could be, definitely.
Excellent. Move on. All right, last question before we move on to the next bloke. Overall price change thus far has been an increase of 50,700. Mate, how much further do you reckon he's going to go?
Probably another 50k if you're lucky.
Excellent. And of course,
Like
if
pumping
he
up 40, 45 points.
no, fair enough. Look, and if he averages that 40 to 45, there could even be 100k. We could see him hit that 360, 370 figure before he starts to peak and come back down. Mate, I'm on board with your opinion there. Yeah, true. I'm 100% on board with you there. In fact, I've brought Robbie Rochow in for Ryan Hoffman this week. Okay, let's move on to one of the banes of my existence last year. I started with him in my side, and I couldn't get rid of him, until about round 6, and he caused me all sorts of grief. Jared Waerea-Hargreaves. He's pumped out a couple of 50-point scores, but interestingly, if we look at his 5 rounds, they've been fairly consistent. We see a 43, a 46, a 41, a 56, and a 52. Priced at $334,900. He's seen an overall price change of $65,000. Now, if you compare this to Brendan Lawrence has increased in price by nearly $92,000. Jared's last 3-round average is 49.7. His last 5-round average is 47.6. So definitely some good averages and some value there. Mate, is this a bloke that you should be jumping on? Taking into account, by the way, 6.37% of teams own him, so not quite the huge POD that a lot of people would like. Is he a bloke you should be jumping on? Should you be jumping on him for points? Should you be jumping on him for money? And can he keep up the 50-point scoring?
Personally, I don't think you should jump on him, and that's due to, especially for an overall team, the Roosters have one of the baddest buys you can have with round 12 and round 18 not playing. Also, I don't think he's going to keep up his 50-point scores. He isn't going to tackle 40 times a week. He isn't that type of player. He's going to average probably about 30 to 35 points. And also, look at his negatives this year. They're significantly down last year, but it is still Jared Waerea-Hargreaves. He can still be a dirty player. He can still get pinned. He can still have about 17 negatives in his game if he wants to one day, and that will make his price plummet. If you're on him, maybe look at keeping him. If you're not on him, there's better options out there in terms of Lawrence, Manor, as my point of difference, but there's better options out there than Waerea-Hargreaves.
So what I'm hearing from you is, if you're on him, get off him before the buys, but hold him until he goes back to the old Waerea-Hargreaves Thugmeister that we know. If you're not on him, don't even bother. He's not worth it for the upcoming buy rounds, and you reckon, BJ Lawrence and Aaron Woods, or no, I suppose Aaron Woods is bad for the buys, but BJ Lawrence is a better option for you.
Tim Manor.
Tim Manor, yep. Now, if I was to say to you, Waerea-Hargreaves versus Aiden Tolman?
Tolman, hands down.
Tolman's scoring less, he's averaging less at the moment?
Yeah, he's cheaper too, and he's got way better buys.
Fair call.
You also got to remember, Waerea-Hargreaves is in a winning team, Tolman's in a losing team. Tolman gets back into that winning team, which the Dogs are capable of doing. He'll be back up 45 points, 50 points game leading from the front.
Fair point. I don't like Waerea-Hargreaves. He's burnt me before, but I think he's got a bit of growth in him. I think he's matured a bit, and I don't think we're going to see him go back to the terrible dirt that he used to be. But he's still got that potential. But moving along, we've just mentioned Aiden Tolman, but I want to have a look at Aiden Tolman's nemesis at the Bulldogs as far as the Dream Team coach is concerned. James Graham coming back in round 8. What's your thoughts on him? What's he going to be priced at? We'll look that up quickly. Is the Vampire going to be able to just jump in after a 12-round layoff and just get straight back to business, pumping out 60s and 50-point scores?
James Graham is priced at $361,600. Break even of 45 at the moment, subject to change. Personally, I don't think he'll affect Tolman too much. He will probably drop. Timer's already off. Then you can, I think it is. He'll probably drop off the bench, and Marty Tapau is probably going to see a reduced time.
So you reckon
Tolman won't be affected too much by Graham coming back?
You reckon he'll just keep pumping along at 40 points a game?
Tolman will keep pumping along 40, 45, 50 points a game. Graham, when he comes back, once he's warmed back into the team, which is roughly when you want to get him back after that first 1 or 2 price changes, which could, in fact, lower his price, making it more affordable. Maybe a trade from Lawrence to him, held his buys a little bit better, especially over the first 2 buys. You could go Graham, who could be pumping up 50 points a game.
Yeah, look, and he could be. With James Graham, look, I'm out. I'm going to sit on the fence, with regards to him, and be grateful that we get 3 games from him before we have to see a price rise. And that's something to keep in mind. If you're hanging out for James Graham to come back, look, he comes back in round 8. You've got round 8, 9, and 10 before or you make that decision at round 10, leading into round 10, rather than jump on him straight away. I think there's going to be that adjustment period, and we might see a couple of price drop or something like that. But Bulldogs, if I remember correctly, they were a Tier 1 team for your, in fact, they were the only Tier 1 team for your bye rounds. Is that right?
That is correct. And that's because they play all 3 big bye rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. So James Graham could be one to stick in your thoughts a little bit later on. Moving right along, let's have a look at a potential cashy here. Jack Stockwell, he's pumping out a 37.5 or thereabouts average. He's only played 2 games. Now, he's in for Michael Wayman. He's only playing 33 to 38 minutes a game on, somewhere in there it tends to be his average. Having said that, that's pretty much stock standard for most of the Dragons underpriced at the moment. Most of their Dragon props, front row forwards. He is playing in that prop position, but can play second row. Break even a -26 this week. Projected price range, if he hits his projected score of 23, is a price rise of $33,400. He's scored 40 and 35 in the 2 games that he's played against the Sharks and Knights, respectively. Is this bloke someone we need to jump on? Is he a risk? Is he someone that, everybody's going to jump on and then suddenly Michael Wayman comes back as a late inclusion and he gets dropped from the side altogether and we never see him again? Or is he a bloke that that comes into the side and he'll at least go back to the bench, meaning he'll probably get 30 minutes and still pump out the same score? What's the go here?
Stockwell is getting about 35 minutes a game, as you see. He's got a points per minute average of 1.1 at the moment from his 2 games. What I'm looking at his stats from, he's getting about 25 tackles a match and making about 10 meters a match, with a few tackle busts sprinkled in, negating those negative points he'll probably score. I see him continuing doing that. I'm seeing him as a sort of Ryan James type player, but not as good as Ryan James.
Fair enough. Look, is he going to pump out the games? Is he going to get the games, or as soon as Michael Wayman comes back, is this guy just going to fade into oblivion?
Me personally, I think he might fade away a little bit over the next few weeks when Wayman does come back. But looking around the buys with Mirren out and possibly others, you could see Stockwell increase in value in terms of the Dragon stocks, which means he increases in value in Dreamteam because he's pumping out high scores with more game time and better players, well, not better players around them, but weaker sides that he's facing.
Okay, and interestingly, sorry, go on.
I'm using Stockwell as sort of a long-term cash out and hold for until the rest of the season, maybe upgrade later in the season.
Okay, interesting. Now, just on that note, he's owned by 6.83% of team. So again, he sort of gets up over that 5%, and we look for under 5% to really be that point of difference. So a lot of people are jumping on him, and I'd expect as we get closer to Friday, a lot more people will jump on him as well. This leads me to an interesting, I guess the next player I want to throw up at you, because 75% of people who have brought Stockwell in have brought Stockwell in for George Burgess. Now, is it time to get off George Burgess, or is it still time to get on him? Have people missed the boat on gorgeous George Burgess? Or, is he peaking, do you think, and is it now time to jump off him?
It's not time to jump off him yet. He's still got another decent price range. The dude's got a -27 break even, for God's sake. Why are you trading him out for? The only reason why you trade him out for is if he's injured, and he's not. You keep him at least another week, if not 2, if not 3, if not the rest of his season. If he keeps pumping out 40-point scores as he's been doing lately.
Maybe,
56
actually, Banksy, on that point, no, hang on, back the truck up. He hasn't hit 40 points once. He's got, George Burgess has pumped out, hang on, let me pull it up exactly. But he's pumped out a couple of 20s, a 30, and then a 56 and a 67. He's just skipped the 40s altogether.
His average is 47.8, okay?
Yeah, his average is 47.8, but that's because he's gone 65, 21, 36, 30, 56, 67. The guy just goes 40. What's 40? Oh, I'm skipping. If put it this way, if George Burgess makes 31, he's going past 50. That's what the stats are telling me right now after 5 rounds of competition.
But also, I'm looking at when he went big, he scored a try.
Mm-hmm.
So you take away his try, his line break, and probably a few of those tackle busts he got too. That brings him down to 40 points. Voila.
Yeah, you stats boys, you just manipulate and twist it all till it suits your argument, don't you? I know how you work.
He won't score tries every single week like he's been doing lately.
Look, you bought
Teams
the sicky licky licky with 3 chicken nuggets, but the 3 chicken nuggets is not enough to get me on your side.
Look.
My opinion is not for sale, Banksy. No matter how many chicken nuggets you got, mate.
Okay, look at this. He's playing the Storm, the Seagulls, the Broncos, the Cowboys in the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Tell me those 4 teams won't have him worked out by now.
Well, look, to be honest with you, I expected the Bulldogs to have him worked out. and he put them to the sword. You know, I watched him tackle bust some very seasoned Storm defenders. Sorry, not Storm, Bulldogs defenders, and they just couldn't stop him. You know, he got through some of the biggest blokes in their side, and they could not stop him. So, yeah, but not only that, you look at the Warriors. They're not mugs in the tackling department. I know they've been out of touch, but in that game, George Burgess plays for the Rabbitohs, all right? The Warriors push the Rabbitohs to the absolute nth degree, to the full 80 minutes. The Warriors aren't mugs in the tackling, mate. They're big boys. And a bloke like George Burgess, no matter how big and strong he is, does not faze the Warrior boy. They just sit there and go, hey, look, he's a bro, mate. He's come from our mum over in England, eh, bro? And they'll just tackle him. They'll smash him, mate. And yet they couldn't. He still busted through them. And they're big boys at the Warriors, mate. You know it as well as I do.
Did 8 tackle busts he did against the Warriors.
That's it, mate. That's what I'm saying, Banksy. That's what I'm saying, mate. I'm
There's
definitely
more indictment on the Warriors.
Oh, maybe.
The Warriors can't tackle regardless how big they are.
Look, if
8 tackle busts,
mate, we could get into a discussion on the Warriors, but we'd need a whole new segment for it. All right?
Okay, let's move on.
We're gonna have to move on. We've gone over time on George Burgess. What to do with Nathan Smith down at the old starting price point, mate? What do we do with old Nathan Smith? He's fallen out of favour by the looks. He's no longer in starting side. He's no longer on the bench. He's playing New South Wales Cup. What's happening with Nathan Smith? Do we sit on him? Is he going to come back? Do we ditch him for Stockwell? Do we ditch him for another cheapie or upgrade him, or what do we do?
The saving grace is that he is playing New South Wales Cup, which means he's not going to lose price.
Mm-hmm.
He's got an 8 of 15 sitting right there in the last 2 games to drag him down to 100k. I am trading him out because it will just solidify my second row, my front row forwards as all playing now, and rather than staying around for a few more weeks. Still 20% of us still have him, 25,000 people on him still. There's a few Stockwells coming through. Kelipi Tanginoa from the Eels, Bodene Thompson,
Tanginoa.
Okay, Tanginoa then, sorry.
I just actually no. Well, look, I'll throw him up at you next. After the next player I've got for you. But okay, so what do we do? He's dead weight. Obviously, if he's not losing price, he's not a must trade at this point in time. So, do you trade him out now, or do you just sit on him until you absolutely have to trade him, or you've got a week where everything went perfect, so you just trade him out to get rid of the dead weight in that week?
It all depends on your makeup of your team. If you have no urgent trades and there's a very good cheapie coming through, a very good cheap Sora coming through, and you have the luxury of a trade that does that and makes your team stronger in terms of buys and overall position, then sure, do it. But if you don't have that luxury, you can keep him. You won't lose money on him. Okay. You can wait a few weeks for Bodene Thompson if you want to.
Yeah, look, and Bodene Thompson, I think we'll finish up the segment with him. We'll do 2 players, and then we'll jump onto Bodene and have a chat about him, and then we'll call it quits for this week. Next player I wanted to throw at you, Tom Symonds. Now, Tom Symonds, he's been reasonably pretty strong for Manly there. He's got a few tackle busts. There's been a try there. Last week was a little bit down on, I guess, what a lot of people expected of him, but overall he's going to be that 30 to 35 point player. Break even of 8. He's capable of playing in your centres. He's already seen a $16,000 price rise last week. I think overall he's actually come up by about 50,000 overall, which has been a nice little price rise for those who sort of jumped on him. Been a bit of a revelation. He is starting. I'm not quite sure how many minutes he's pumping in.
Yeah, I'm not sure on his minutes either, but when he's gone big against the Tigers and the Titans, when he's got 38 and 44, he has done that on the back of tries and line breaks and tackle busts. His core stats, his tackles, his meters gained is not strong. He's averaging 14 tackles a game, which I think the maths are probably about right on that, and he's doing about 60 run meters a game too, which isn't too strong.
Okay,
that's like 20 points, 25 points.
So effectively, what you're telling me is, with a break even of 8 this week, keep him this week, and then cash him out next week because his break even will be, there'll be no more cash.
Depends where he scores this week against the Sharks. Yeah, but yeah, if you have him, you probably keep him another week. If you don't have him, you've missed a boat. Stay off him.
Yeah, no, fair call. All right, let's have a look at Kelipi Tanginoa at the Eels. Now, this young kid, I watched him in the game last week, Eels versus the Sharks. I was pretty impressed with him. Like he did a fair bit of work. He there were a couple of sort of tackle busts there. He got in and got through his work well. Didn't play a hell of a lot of minutes, but definitely looked like a bloke who had a bit of potential for the future. He's priced at that 140k mark, so he's already had his initial price rises there. He's gained about 38,400 over the course of the season. Plays second row for Para, but look, Para are in all kinds of trouble. We don't know week to week what sort of squad Ricky Stewart's going to be putting out there. I know Matt Ryan's injured, and I have a funny feeling Tanginoa's on the bench, covering for the bloke who's covering for Matt Ryan. He has a break-even of -4, and he's played 4 rounds. His scores have been 11, 25, 21, and 36. Is this a bloke we should be jumping on and putting into our NPR just to pick up some extra cash? Have we missed the boat on him? I mean, what's the go here with Tanginoa?
We have missed the initial cash rise, but what a lot of people I think are doing with him in terms of trading him in, they're trading him in because they want that player over the buys. They're not too concerned about him not playing the next few weeks as long as he plays during the buys. And he started last week. He started lock, I think he did, against the Sharks, which was about the 6th lock that I've used in 5 games. But knowing Ricky Stewart, he has to find that lock which sticks sooner or later. Maybe this guy's the one that sticks.
Look, you could have an interesting point there, and he scored 36 from lock. He's a young kid. He's owned by 3% of teams, 3.03%. Is it too early to bring him in for the buy rounds? I mean, there's no guarantee he's going to be playing over those buy rounds. As I said, it's fairly volatile at the Eels, particularly in the back row at the moment.
He's been constant for the last 4 weeks.
He has,
and that's because the other players have been dropping around injury. He's always been there. And you think because he started last week, he's obviously in the good books, and that he probably wants to keep him there now. In terms of trading him now for the buys, it all depends what your second row makeup is. Maybe you have Nathan Smith and you have an extra trade floating around this week. You can do that trade this week and get that stronger player over the buys, because the Eels are one of my tier 3 teams with the good exit strategy. After having their first buy in round 12, they don't have another buy into round 16, which is a small buy. To pay 2 big buys for you.
Yeah. Look, and interestingly, just on that note too, last week he was named to come off the interchange bench, and there was a last-minute change to bring him into the starting side. Now, I have no idea why that happened. Do you have any info on that? Did somebody get injured late, or did Dicky just decide to change it up? Or?
I think Sticky just pushed Tyler to the bench, and that's probably what happened this week again with Kepler.
Okay, all right. Well, I guess we'll definitely keep an eye on that. And look, we'll close out this segment. We've covered a lot of players, and ladies and gents, if you are listening, you've got this far, thank you. First and foremost, we love the fact that you guys do listen to us and you enjoy what we put together. But we'd really encourage you to ask us any questions and put forward any players you'd like an opinion on or like a breakdown on. To finish out, I think we need to have a look at Bodene Thompson, capable of playing second row and centre. He's obviously on a 1-week suspension this week for attacking the legs of Gareth Widdop. Look, he's come from the Titans. He played his first game for the Tigers against the Storm last week. He scored 36, which, was definitely a good hit out. At the Titans, anytime he started in the second row, he scored well. He was a 35-plus point scorer. But the problem was that he had this utility tag, and they'd throw him into the centres. He'd start and play full games in the centres, and his points would just suck in the centres. Coming off the bench, he'd score minimally. He wouldn't get a hell of a lot of minutes, maybe 30 minutes or so. And again, his points wouldn't be as crash hot. But if he got the game time in that second row position, he went looking for work. He pushed himself hard. He was in tackles, particularly one-on-one tackles. He loves taking the big blokes down one-on-one. Couple of disciplinary issues, nowhere near as bad as Jared Waerea-Hargreaves. He's prone for a penalty or two once in a while. In fact, I think he got penalised at least once against Melbourne. And then, of course, there was that separate incident where he didn't get penalised. Not on his stats? Okay, I've got that mistaken. Nope. But he probably should have been penalised for attacking Widdop's leg.
He should have been. He got suspended.
Yeah, he got suspended for the 1 week with the early guilty plea. Missed 1 tackle, 1 ineffective tackle, no errors, no penalties conceded. 4 points from metres gained, and 1 offload. Now that's the other thing. His offload is a strong part of his game. He's very, very capable in department. 127,000. Look, Banksy, instead of just throwing it to you, I'm going to throw it to you with my opinion straight up. I reckon he's a bloke to cash out one of your guys who's peaked for. If you've got a guy who's hitting that sort of mark where he's not going to gain anything, he's probably going to start to drop back, and you want to maximise on that cash him out for Bodene Thompson, particularly if he's named starting the week after next in round 7.
That is true. And also being a centre, he could score consistent 30, 35 points for you, 40 points a week for you, if he keeps that second row role like he did against the Storm. What I don't like is going from the Storm game alone, he got a lot of his points from tackles. You've said it yourself, he's got a very good offload on him and a very good running game if he's given a chance to do that. And you would expect at the Tigers, with what they have there, they should give him a bit more time. But maybe because he hasn't played with them too many times, and with Benji being injured, and Nesta being forced back into the halves. Maybe they weren't flowing as well, but give him time. He could be that cheapie to cash out to if you're looking to stop money being sucked out of you from like a Jenny Brewer. Maybe a Justin Horror that's coming to the end of his wane by a little bit.
Or a Tom Symonds in a couple of weeks, in a week's time. I wouldn't recommend going a Nathan Smith because you're only gaining, 20,000. I don't think it's really worth the trade there. But the other thing is, like a Lewis Brown too, you can gain 100,000 by going Lewis Brown to Bodene Thompson.
Lewis Brown's got plenty of money left in him.
He does. I'm talking in a couple of weeks' time. But I do like him in that centre's position from a dream team perspective. If he's playing starting second row for the Tigers on the actual field, put him in that centre's position does give you a cheapie who's going to pump out anywhere between 30 and 45, even 50 points a game for you, relatively consistently. And that's something that's going to be vital, particularly coming into the back end of season where you're not in a position to upgrade to a Greg Inglis or something like that. You need that gap filler. The only big negative I see is his Tigers. So if I remember correctly, your buy rounds had him at tier 5 or tier 6. Is that right?
Tier 6, he misses big buy round 1, round 12, and big buy round 3, number 18.
Yeah, so he's, you're not going to use him in 3 out of those 5 rounds, which is probably not the ideal situation for you, really.
No, not for a cheapie centre if you get him down on the centres. I personally like having my cheapie centres being my buy cover. So that's why last year I got Michael Wright from the Sharks.
Yep.
It was very helpful in round 17 last year. 0.
Yeah. Here I was thinking that you were being genuine, and once again you were throwing out a 3-nugget Happy Meal.
I always throw out 3-nugget Happy Meals.
Yeah, let's look. I can see that line going down a really bad path. Nuggets and no, we're not touching it. Alrighty, well look, mate. Rather than drag on, we've got another segment I think in the can, and thank you very much for your opinions and thoughts on those players. I've sort of quizzed you, and I've done it without giving you really the opportunity to research. So thank you very much for indulging me this week with this segment, mate. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope you at home in Dream Team land have found it useful. And please, if you've got questions, if you want us to discuss something, to look at something, or give a rundown on the player or whatever, message myself, message Banksy, post it on Mentors and tag us in it. However you can get in touch with us, please do, because we're always looking for stuff to check out on the show.
Definitely. Keep doing that. Keep talking. I like seeing comments. I like that interaction I had last week. I want to see more of it, please.
Absolutely. And look, we've been doing this for 5 rounds now, and got to be honest with you, we're starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel for good ideas. It's going to get pretty messy if you guys don't give us something to work with very, very soon. Banksy and I, we aren't the brightest bulbs in the box or sharpest tools in the shed, but please help us out here. Now I kind of feel like we were just running a telethon there for cancer kids or something like that. By the way, if you ever see a telethon for cancer kids, give all your money because it's well and truly worth it. Wasn't paying out on cancer kids there, I was paying out on me and Banksy. But ladies and gents, we come to the end of another segment. Thank goodness for that. Have an awesome week in the Dream Team world. Banksy, mate, thank you once again. And may your 17 score well so you never have to use an MPR as an auto. I'm Jay Moneyball Hellaby. You've been here with Nathan Banksy Banks, and we're getting the hell out of here, and I'm going to go and try and